You will often hear that Aikido is a non-competitive martial art, but what does it mean actually? I mean, on the one hand, it's true that we don't have championships, we don't have fights, we don't fight against each other to prove who is better or who has to learn still. But this is one aspect of being competitive, right? But there are also some other aspects. One of them is competing with yourself. So trying to get better every time you go to the training, every time you go to the dojo, trying to improve your techniques, trying to improve your application of the principles, trying to learn new things. Simply getting better for yourself all the time. And it's kind of a continuous process. And there is still a kind of competition in the dojo sometimes, because if you have a bunch of people training together, often you will have kind of approach saying, okay, I want to show you that I'm better, that I have learned faster, that I have learned more than you, and so on, which to a certain extent can be useful, but if there is too much of it, it can also destroy the learning process. So we want to talk a little bit about this today, show you maybe a few examples that go with this, and share with you our perspective of this competition in Aikido, or non-competition.
So let's talk about competition in general. So what is competition? In many martial arts, there's an official kind of competition that happens where you go to a certain event where you compete against others to see who wins. And so a kind of a general idea of competition is to see who wins or loses. And that's kind of has a very basic sense of saying, well, how am I compared to you? And so in Aikido, O-Sensei had created Aikido and actually said that it's a non-competitive martial art. So when it was created as a non-competitive martial art. There are no official competitions, although there are sometimes competitions that happen even within Aikido. There is, however, a lot of competition that happens in dojos. And whether it's conscious or unconscious, it's usually pretty much happening. And there's definitely competition happening within our own systems. Just on a basic level, anytime you look around you, anytime you meet another person, generally speaking, there's always some sense of trying to figure yourself out compared to the other person or compared to the environment. Am I bigger? Am I smaller? Am I better? Am I worse? What are the differences? What could I do? How am I better? How am I different? There's so many different angles to this that happen. So we're actually somehow always in competition. And not only with the environment around us, but, okay, how am I with myself? I did a horrible job. I want to do much, much better. And these sometimes are actually good motivations, but they can also be very competitive. I really did a bad job. I know I could have done better. And that could be a learning process, but also we can use it as a competitive process to help, or actually not to help, but to stop our growth. So when it stops the growth, then the competition becomes destructive. So what we want to do in Aikido, instead of promoting the competition, we want to take a look at the competition, just to see that it's there. And it usually actually comes out in many different forms in the practice itself. And we're going to show you a little bit of what that might look like. So one way that competition sometimes comes up in an Aikido dojo is training with resistance, okay, or resistance that stops the growth of learning. So, for example, Marcin, if we just start with kind of a basic movement, Katate Dori Tai no Hinko, where I'm just going to make a simple movement, not even a throw. And the idea is that I want to turn with him. But what happens sometimes is that he gets into it, and he's going to block the movement.
No, you don't know it well enough.
You know,
I know it better.
There's already competition, and then no, I do know it better, and it goes like this, right? And so we have to kind of muscle our way through it, which means that we're not really learning the technique. We're just sort of competing against each other, and we're using little different tricks to see who wins. In just a simple learning situation, if we're doing Katate Dori Tai no Hinko, we want to feel the situation. Now, it doesn't mean he has to let me do the technique, right? Then there's not really any learning here. There's no energy. So, in that sense, and we've talked about this in previous videos about how to train, but he can give a good energy, without necessarily blocking, and I can work with that. And he's working with me. So he's giving me the energy that we can work with. He's not giving me the energy that's going to stop our growth. So this is an important factor that we want to look at. And I think also there's another thing that comes up in Aikido too, where different styles will compete against each other. Right? Marcin had mentioned this earlier, and this happens quite a bit, where my style is different than your style. So, for example, I might do Katate Dori Tai no Hinko like this, right? And boom. And
No, it's not like this. Actually, you should turn your hand like this, because your way is, if someone is strong, your way will not work.
No. But see, my way is better because, when you do it, you fill up the hand and then you go this way and then you turn. Then actually I'm feeling my partner better. And so, really my way is much, much better. And so we could really go on. And you will see eventually that both sides probably have advantages and disadvantages.
And it especially can happen when you, at certain level, you want to explore Aikido a little bit more, and you start visiting other dojos and seeing other styles. And when you cross with the other styles, or during some seminars, you cross with people from other styles, from other backgrounds, and when you say, what they do is crap.
And maybe in a non-competitive sense, being able to see and taste and discover different styles without necessarily needing to feel that it's better or worse, is actually encouraged. It's an encourageable thing to do so that you learn more. And you can include that into your own Aikido practice. All the different benefits that you see from different styles. So there's no sense of blocking something out, excluding, but actually including in a non-competitive way. In that sense, there's so many different ways that we could see competition come up, not only in Aikido, but in other areas of our lives. But we're going to mainly just focus on this today, and we might come up with a different form of competition to show you a little bit later. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.